Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is September 10th, 2022. I don't know why that was a little bit of lag in my brain, but hey, that's the week I'm having. No, actually, this week's been pretty good. Hopefully you've had a good one. I know I normally like to ask you first. Sorry, I'm just jumping in. But yeah, it's been a crazy week. A lot's going on. We're gonna get into it, of course. But I like to get through myself, what I've been doing, what I've been going through. I mean, and honestly, I don't know why I'm queuing this episode negatively. It's been a good week. I've had a good one. A lot of work. Granted, I did have Labor Day off, but we hit the ground running. So I've just been cranking. Even worked today on this Saturday. But I did get in a little bit of retail therapy, and that was nice. So we can talk about fashion corner. Because I really don't have much food, sadly. I had like chicken and waffles, but I've talked about those before. Nothing wild, nothing crazy. And I had a Little Caesars pizza, which of course got a lot of negative reactions. But it is what it is. We do what we do. Let's see. What did I buy? I bought something from my job. We have a lot of clothes and like some accessories and some other stuff, but mostly clothes. Essentially, though, I got another fanny pack. Actually, I guess I haven't talked too much about this on the podcast. I'm kind of a fanny pack enthusiast. This was something that I started around 2020. This was like one of my pandemic things where I was just like, you know what I don't have? I don't have pocket space because I'm wearing like Hoochie Daddy shorts in the summer. I'm wearing like Adidas track pants in the winter. I just don't have enough pocket space. And when I'm doing anything formal, I'm trying to wear some like skinny jeans. That's just the kind of guy I am. So, or skinny pants, as skinny as I can get it. Some nice joggers. Um, so I don't have much in realms of pocket space, and that's always been a bother for me, a problem. So I was thinking, 2020, what do I do? What do we do? And it dawned on me, fanny packs. Fanny packs are the solution. They are the way. Yes. Do you look like a tourist? Of course. Yes. Is it the coolest thing? It's not cool. I never. Actually, I was at a party, and one of my friends, he busted out. And he's like, you know who you look like, dog? And I think the whole crew came to this consensus before saying it to me or something. I don't know. But they're like, you look like Uncle Grandpa. And I was floored. Because I didn't know who this guy was. And they show me. And I'm like, I don't look. Yeah, I do. I do look like this man. so please look up Uncle Grandpa. And if you haven't actually looked up my actual face persona, just stick to that. Just I'm black. That's me. That's my spirit animal, at least right now. But yeah, I'm a big fanny pack guy. So I got a fanny pack. It's called Casa Platl or whatever. I never get the name right, but essentially they're kind of on like I don't know if you remember Tom's shoes. How like they were like, hey, you buy a pair, we'll give a pair to someone who needs shoes. It's a little bit like that in the sense of, actually I don't know why I compare it to that because it's really kind of not, but essentially it's like, hey, we're trying to recycle and do good things for the world, and I think their motto is gear for good. So they're giving you a recycled pieces fanny pack. And maybe not so much like recycled pieces, but they're like leftover pieces that they don't need or use, and they all kind of come together to make these new things. So they make little bags and fanny packs and stuff of that nature. I guess I compared it to Tom's because Tom's gives you like these burlap little shoes, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna give these burlap little shoes to somebody else. Now, granted, I think Tom's has kind of improved some of their footwear, but we all know, if you've worn a pair of Tom's, you know they fold when it rains. You just know it. That's why I had to shift to Crocs, because you need something tougher. You need something that can really stand the rain, if you will. Okay, all right. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? I also went to Dick's, and I bought some more shorts. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Isaiah, like, it's September, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Like, summer's almost over, dog. You got about 12 days left. and it's, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yes, but I've been riding my shorts out, and I just needed a new pair. So I went and I got some. Also, I got some socks. I got some black socks. So yeah, fashion corner. Yes, fashion. It's more or less all we got there. Let's see. We do have some news, of course, and we can get into it. Actually, I kind of wanted to start not necessarily with the news of the week like I normally do. I guess you can kind of say it's a little bit of leftovers. I've been meaning to get to this article, or kind of slew of articles that have come out. I mean, from it, but it's an update on Vanessa Bryant, Kobe Bryant's wife. She got a verdict, a ruling in her lawsuit against Los Angeles County. More or less, against the police. Well, it's against the county, but it was, a lot of just the EMT response team. I think there was a firefighters that were involved, also police. Just this whole situation of these people who came and they, obviously they were there to do their job, do their duty, respond to the scene, do what is necessary. But on top of doing their job, they also took close-up pictures of the situation. I'm kind of, putting the cart before the horse here, so I'll go ahead and read the title like I normally do. Sorry. Jury award, and I got this from CNN US. Also, there was an article I read from NPR, but that was a little bit old. I think they had last put there. I think that got put up the 19th of August. So I was like, let me get this one. Granted, this is the 25th. So like I said, I'm a little bit behind, but wanted to finally, get it in here. Jury awards plaintiffs $31 million in lawsuit over Kobe Bryant crash photos. So this is not only Vanessa Bryant, but also Christopher Chester. I'm sorry. His wife, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, Chester's wife, Sarah, and his daughter, Peyton, and as well as 5 others, as well as Kobe Bryant and Gianna Bryant. So, I mean, it was a sad story. It was one, actually, I do remember. I did the episode with Terrell Flowers, awesome dude, amazing guest. We had covered that, and I was like, damn, that's crazy that people were literally doing this. And I guess I can kind of do a little bit more elaboration. So the people who took those photos, the people who were part of the response, they then had these photos, and I think it's something that they call a death book. It's something that kind of is just this really kind of morbid thing that people do. And, obviously when you hear this for the first time, you're like, ooh, that's so disgusting. That's so disturbing. That's so gross. But I do understand the lizard brain mentality of this is a big event. This is Kobe Bryant. He's dead. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. And I understand almost like an impulsive moment to capture said moment. Now, what kind of goes on here in some of the defense is well, hey, look, some of that was about that. Hey, we were trying to actually get photos of the crime scene, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. I do feel like that kind of rings hollow. Ooh, excuse me. Wow, donuts. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can find some of the names in this article from CNN. But Louis Lee was Vanessa Bryant's attorney. I'm trying to find the LA's attorney. But essentially, they took these photos, and it's I can understand, you're trying to capture this moment, but what they do beyond that is what's really beyond the pale. I mean, honestly, though, taking these photos, I asked myself, would you do that? I'm like, no. I just, I don't think I could unsee that. You know what I mean? In a moment like that, an event like that. So the idea of, saying, well, I need to capture it, why? The only thing I can initially think is you're going to sell this to tabloids or something, really fucked up. But according to, what came out, in testimony and stuff like that, it seems like it was only distributed amongst friends or people at a bar. Granted, these things are gross. Okay, let's see. The attorney for LA County was Mira Hashmal. Now, Hashmal, I get it. She has her back up against the wall in this kind of situation. Morally, this is bankrupt as fuck. But I feel like a lot of her defense was like, well, hey, yes, this was depraved, this was wrong, I don't agree with it, but the information was never quote unquote made public. Now, that is her defense that she uses. I personally feel like she did not prove that in the court of law. Now, granted, I think she was Vanessa Bryant was trying to get 75 million. Well, not just Vanessa Bryant, but families of all the parties involved. We're trying to get 75 million, and well, the plaintiffs involved. I'm sorry. So, the Chesters and then the Bryants. They were trying to get 75 million for emotional distress, but they didn't get that. Like I said, the grand total was 31 million, and then it's going to be split up. I think she was awarded 16 million. Yes, and now obviously, average Joe, that's a lot of money, but something you always got to take into consideration here, especially for these high profile, big, cases. None of this is cheap. Most of this is all getting liquidated through lawyers and people involved, court fees, all that bullshit. It's at the end of the day, it's going to fizzle into not a bunch of money, especially for a person who is maintaining the kind of life that the brands are. So, more or less, this definitely was something that was done for the principal. Like, she's making sure that, like, look, something good comes out of this, which is awareness that you shouldn't do this, that this is messed up. She tells a story in this article about, like when she got the news that, like, I think it was from a journalism team, they were like trying to say, hey, like, this is something that's going on. Like, we wanted to get your thoughts on it. And she was with her, her baby, her family. And she's like, I had to like go outside. I had to like, go away. And she's like, there's nothing I can do. I can't. Like, I wanted to run, I wanted to scream, and there's like, I can't get out of my own body, but that's what I wanted, like, I wanted to be out of myself, because this was just so much, it was so, detrimental. There's times in, the trial that she cried, just a big to do. So it was one of those things where I had it on my heart that I wanted to talk about this. I felt like I always tell you guys, hey, I will keep you updated, and a lot of stories fall into the ether. And I suck, and I'm sorry. I'm doing the best I can, okay? I'm trying. But this was definitely one that I wanted to put on the podcast, and I was like, look, I think I got enough space to do that this week. So let's do it. I wanted to move on, though, to our usual, Russia, Ukraine conversation stuff, so we can do that. This article comes from Reuters. U.S. Russia could be about to buy millions of North Korean shells, rockets. So, I mean, this story is, I kind of feel like it's a bit speculative, but it's something that kind of came up in conversation. It kind of goes to potentially the state of things, so that's why I wanted to kind of talk about it. But, I mean, essentially, it's not verified yet. It's not even confirmed whether or not they're going, or they've bought it, or they are going to officially buy these North Korean, shells, rockets, ammunition, I guess we can say, for the sake of brevity. I don't know. I'm using big words that are above my pay grade. But let's see. The Russia's ambassador to the United Nations, Vasily Nebenzia, he dismissed it. I haven't heard it, and I think that it's another fake being circulated around. And that's something he told the reporters. Let's see. U.S. State Department Deputy Spokesperson Vedant Patel told News Briefing on Tuesday that Russia is in the process of purchasing millions of rockets and artillery shells from North Korea in use in Ukraine. Now, granted, Kirby came out and kind of said there's no, I'm about to quote the fucking man, no indications that purchase has been completed, and certainly no indications that those weapons are being used inside of Ukraine. Now, more or less, blah, 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 blah. I found this interesting, though, because, kind of what other analysts are saying and chiming in. It's like, if this is real, essentially this is saying that, hey, maybe the sanctions are doing something, quote unquote, because the act of doing something is kind of something we've been talking about since we've started the conversation about Russia, Ukraine, and the sanctions. What are they doing? Is this thing actually working? In some ways, no, it's fucking not working. From what I've kind of gathered listening, to the Times, all this kind of shit, Russia has been able to buoy themselves off of the power of energy, like off of the power of their oil shit. Them being able to control the flow of gas has been in their favor. The fact that Western nations, Western powers rely on them for this, has worked out for them. And essentially, there's been other countries like India, I believe maybe China as well, that have been, just gobbling up, what they can, what's been available, because, they kind of read the situation. Also, I've heard Saudi Arabia has bought some of their oil or fuel, if you will, because it's not crude oil, but essentially they're using it to power their shit while then they sell more of their own crude oil. So you can kind of see that they're working around these sanctions. They're squirming, inking themselves out. But in a way that you can say that it is working is, well, if you can't buy the munitions that you want because of these sanctions, you can't get them. So then you kind of go to old allies and you say, hey, we'll take what you got. And they'll stand there and for North Korea's sake, they're like, yeah, bet, cool. So if it is real, it makes sense. And it kind of goes to show, like, hey, maybe something is happening there. Maybe not. I mean, who knows? There's no real way to kind of confirm this. I'm sure Russia would never come out and say it, but I'm also sure that if there's any evidence of North Korean munitions being used, I'm sure that will come out, and I will definitely love to talk about it. Let's see. And then I guess I'll highlight the article. I don't really want to get too into it because it's just more of like a blip to me. But this is from the NPR. Russian forces withdraw from Kharkiv region as Ukraine pushes a counter offensive. So essentially, long short here, a lot of talk was that there was going to be a southern push. That was what was made up on paper. That was pushed onto the press. That's what it looked like was happening. But apparently, a plan coming out of Kiev. I'm gonna say one or the other. They kind of talked right, hit left, and essentially they have been making an eastern push, and I guess there's been kind of shown some success. So I believe, let's see, Ukrainian officials claim to have recaptured some 270 square miles in the key towns of Izium, Balaklia, and Kupiansk. So they've been controlled by Russia for months, and this was kind of like a surprise. And I think also this is, at least some of these areas have been confirmed by Russia as like, yep, that happened, that's real, they did that. So that's a big deal. That's something, I guess. So I wanted to, make a note of that. By all means, if you want to delve into that some more, you can. Let's see here. More from NPR. Police are investigating how the second suspect in the Canadian stabbings died. Now, that title is not very helpful because this all popped off on Sunday. It was one of those that I got off the podcast. I saw that was in the news, and it was very intense. I'm trying to think if I can get both the names here. So there was Miles Sanderson, who was 32, and then Damian Sanderson, who was 30. And these were brothers. I believe that they lived on the James Smith Cree First Nation Reserve, and that's where a lot of this took place. I believe there was also another stabbing in Walden, I believe, in Canada. So this was news that popped up, and essentially these two men, they got together, and it is believed that there was talks about alcohol or drugs, but essentially these two brothers, they came together with the intention of doing just harmful intent. They wanted to murder. Sadly, both men have died. We'll get to that as I kind of unravel this story. But both men have died. But they went on just a murder spree, a killing spree. They just started stabbing people, and they were just going in and going around and just doing this violence. And in this kind of situation, there was just not much that could be done. And then I think these guys got away. So they were on the run as of Sunday. And as the week went by, I heard that Damian Sanderson. Okay, yeah. So Monday happened. This is when we found the 30-year-old brother. He was found dead. And it was apparent that, like, he died in a knifing. So I believe it's thought that the brother killed him. Like, these weren't self-inflicted wounds. So that happened, and it was around the James Smith Cree Nation. And, the warning, the emergency was kind of extended. They were saying, hey, you guys stay inside, be aware, be careful, because the other brother was still at large, Miles. So then this wraps up with Miles Sanderson finally getting apprehended, but there was, like, a vehicle car chase, and it was a stolen vehicle. Okay. And let's see. I think he died of, like, potentially self-sustained wounds. I'm not entirely sure, and there's not too many details out yet. I think it's probably going to come out in the autopsy, maybe what happened, and maybe those wounds are self-inflicted. Like I said, I'm fuzzy on that from what I've gathered so far. I'm sure there's going to be more coming out. Let's see, the leading police officer or whatever, Blackmore. I know I have her other name, but let's see. I want to get her quote in. All life-saving measures that we are capable of were taken at this time. So they tried to save him after they apprehended him, but he died in custody. So Rhonda Blackmore, Assistant Commissioner Rhonda Blackmore. So yeah, I mean, this is a crazy situation. I knew, like, when I first heard it, I'm like, whoa. And then as it kind of unraveled, I told myself by Tuesday, I'm like, I'm definitely getting this on. So more or less, this episode from here on is definitely international. I mean, obviously we did the Ukraine, Russia stuff as usual. So we're going from Canada, and we're going to go across the pond even further, from the Northern Hemisphere, to Great Britain, jolly old. And we got a lot to talk about. A lot happened. Obviously, you know where the story is going to go, and I got to take you there because we got to talk about, the bread before we get to the real butter. But I guess we're really, I don't know. Let me get to it. I actually want to take my little breaky break early. We're gonna maybe take a couple breaks. I don't know. This is big. This is big to me, and I want to talk about it. I want to really let it out. But yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, got this from Yahoo News /Reuters. Liz Truss vows tax cuts after winning vote to be next British Prime Minister. So, like I said, we're in Great Britain. I want to talk about the new Prime Minister. Yes. Bojo had to go. It had to happen. I was kind of confused. This is obviously my first time seeing this kind of stuff. So there was, like, a whole elimination process that happens through the conservative, like, Tory party. And essentially, it's weird because this isn't like a national election. I think actually Liz Truss has said, hey, we're going to wait till 2024 to do that. Like, from here on out. Like, there's no plan on changing from where I'm at. But anyway, the process was like a group of about, like, I think 8 people or so, and then they all kind of get vetted down, and it came down to Liz Truss, who was kind of like the favorite to win. She was already, like, kind of a prime Boris Johnson, party group member. She was already foreign minister, so she had ties with the whole Ukraine situation in a positive way. She's definitely trying to keep this Brexit vibe going strong. And also, she sold people on the idea of these tax cuts, on the idea of, like, we're going to get through this, and it's not it doesn't have to be bad. It doesn't have to have this negative outlook. We don't have to up taxes. We don't have to do the worst to get through the worst, I guess, more or less. And Rishi Sunak, who was, I believe, also in the party, he's finance minister, yes. So he had more of a hard line and what I would call a realistic approach to the situation, saying like, look, yeah, we're going to have to go through some of these hardships to overcome. We're going to make it work, and, we got to get started better sooner than later. This recession is going to happen. But Liz Truss, in the end, wound up winning out. The votes were 81,326 to 60,399. So, it was very decisive. So, obviously this is big news. The way it went down was in terms of because you know how they are across the way. They got a lot of pomp and circumstance. They got a lot of things they got to do. Not that, obviously we do too. Yeah, I'm not going to act like we don't. But essentially, the way the prime ministers change roles is they go to Boris Johnson, fully puts in his resignation or whatever, gives his little goodbye speech, which he did, whatever. He starts quoting Cincinnatus or whatever, which is also, I heard from the BBC, there's potential talk that maybe this is kind of a long game plan and he's maybe very happy that Liz Truss won because maybe she might not be the best and he can kind of come back around. Pull a little bit of what Benjamin Netanyahu's trying to do in Israel or whatever. So he says his little deuces. Then Liz Truss comes after he gives his resignation officially to the Queen. Liz Truss comes. She shakes hands. The Queen offers an invitation for her to make a new government, which I think is kind of weird because it's been the same government for over a decade. What are you talking about? It's the same shit, but she got to say it, I guess, whatever. So she's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And, yeah. But let's see some quotes from Liz Truss now that she's the new prime minister, more or less the new boss. I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy. Let's see. I will deliver on the energy crisis, dealing with people's energy bills, but also dealing with the long-term issues we have on energy supply. Now, the talk about the energy stuff is really important because right now, with the whole situation with with Russia, withholding, closing off the pipelines, that's just more or less done now. Everyone's scrambling on the alternatives, but still, I think the most optimistic I've heard is look, we're going to go through 3 bad winters. 3 bad winters. And then maybe we're going to be stable. We should be stable by then. But what they mean by bad winters is there's going to be in England, across the board, across, at least, the UK, whatever, it's going to be 80% hike in your energy bills. So I can't imagine. I can't fucking imagine. That's why I really hate winter. I'll get into this. It's a little bit of a tangent. But I hate winter for a lot of reasons. One, it fucks up your car, and there's a lot of potential risk going out on ice and all that fucking bullshit, and I gotta get to work, so what the fuck, man? That's crazy. But also, your energy bill goes through the fucking roof. And, I don't know. Sure, I guess if you're more well off, you're going to crank that AC all, summer. So maybe your energy bill's a little bit higher. But for me, I don't run much other than a couple of fans. So my energy bill in the summer is nice. It's manageable. I don't have any problem with that. But when it gets to the winter, I get very upset because I have to run the heat while I'm home. And, it gets fucking cold, and I gotta run this heat all day, and I hate that. I hate that when I'm stuck at home, and I gotta run the heat all day, because it means my bill is gonna be higher. So I can't imagine hearing that, hey, this winter is gonna be a cold motherfucking winter, and I see that bill. But essentially, they're trying to get ahead of it here, and Liz Truss is already saying, look, we're gonna have a forgiveness, I think, of 2 years or something. I might be getting that wrong. It might just be a year. And I know for businesses, it's going to be 6 months. But you're going to get a forgiveness, a hold on your bills. So your energy bills. So, that's nice. But, the party on the other side has already come at her and already come at this plan wait a second. who's paying for this? Like, if anything, the rich should be paying for this. Like, the people who are very well off, the businesses and everything who are really well off. And of course, Liz Truss is like, nah, 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 nah. We're not raising this taxes. So, I mean, granted, this is classic, Tory behavior. So, I mean, granted, you did hear from Rishi Sunak, hey, my plan is to raise some, but that's like, once again, something I would call realistic. Um, the plan more or less seems that it's like we're going to borrow money to patch this through, and then that in the long run is probably going to come out on the old consumer, the old citizen, ye old citizen, if you will. But, yeah, I mean, it's a sticky wicket. It's a lot going on, and I'm really just scratching the surface, obviously, of what's going on in, yally old England. Let's see. I feel like that's all I really wanted to cover here on this Liz Truss stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be more to come. But yeah, Bojo is gone. I guess it's Truss we trust, even though to me she's a little sus. Actually, no. I did want to cover one more thing before we get to the big end, the big finale. I do find her political career a little interesting from what I've gathered. I've only gotten little crumbs, little bits and scraps. But apparently, she almost is like a bit of a Kirsten Sinema, only as a prime minister. That's how I would compare it from what I've seen. So, like, she has this almost left-leaning, libertarian style start in the beginning. That's how, like, she kind of comes up. And she's almost like anti-monarch, I think, in a little bit of spats and spots. But she comes around over time. And by the time we get to Brexit, I think she's like, maybe we shouldn't. But then she goes like all in at some point. And then you really see, I guess she's fully come across the aisle. And now she's like a right moderate conservative. And I mean, that's a crazy run. I mean, I guess that's politics, baby. I guess it's just how it goes. But that shit makes me feel icky because it's frustrating. Because it just kind of shows that narrative. If it doesn't matter what country we're talking about, who we're covering, how genuine can you be, and what is genuine then anymore? Because it's like, is she just doing her job? Is she just getting up there? What is she gonna do now that she's here? Like, is this good or bad? Like, imagine you were with her in the beginning of her political career, you're backing her, and then you see her now. Like, how wild is that? Crazy shit. I don't know. Just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, like I said, we're going to take multiple breaks here because this was big news. This was a big week. Yeah, let me... Oh, no. I guess not. Because I ran out of lighter. Wow, okay. Hey, best laid plans. Damn, that's beyond the grave. Okay, I'm going to get into it. This is from Yahoo News. Yahoo News only. But obviously, I'm just using this as a reference. I really just want to talk about it. Queen Elizabeth II dies at 96. Damn. And that's okay. That's really where the condolences end. Is that moment of silence I gave you. I'm not gonna lie. Sorry in advance. If you don't like when I do the thing where I talk bad shit about a person who died, you can just probably end it here. You're skipping my shill. You're not gonna miss anything. But yeah, no, she ain't make it. 96. That's the end of the road. Hey, that's okay. You had a good run. Great run for what you did. But yes, Queen Mary Elizabeth. She's no longer with us. Monarch. Let's talk about that. Monarch of the United Kingdom and head of the Commonwealth died at 96 at Buckingham Palace. So the way I kind of heard this, the news kind of started like, oh, the Queen isn't well. And I was like, I mean, okay, she's 96, kind of makes sense, right? But apparently that's code for this motherfucker about to die. So I remember, I was thinking about it. It was on my mind. Like, okay, I guess maybe it's about to happen. Oh, shit. And as the hours ticked, it just seemed more and more likely because more and more people were freaking out about it. And next thing you know, it happened. She passed on. Now, man, I really don't. I've been thinking about how I'm gonna broach this, how I want to talk about it, because obviously you shouldn't speak ill of the dead. No, it's bad. Yeah, but when you're a person like this, it's just like, to me, it's just like the Donald Rumsfeld shit. It's just like the Ronald Reagan shit. Only this has a different flavor and spice because it's a monarch, and I'm learning and seeing the difference in that and how that has an effect on people. And I've got to tell you, I find it fascinating, fascinating shit. It's so crazy to me. So I was like, wow, crazy. She's dead. She's no longer with us. Oh man. And I told people, I'm like, that's like Tony the Tiger dying. I don't understand why that's such a big deal. Because to me, it's just a mascot. Like, at the end of the day, this isn't an absolute monarchy. What is it? Louis the 14th was the longest one. She didn't make it to that, but to be, frank, she wasn't that. She wasn't an absolute monarch. Essentially, she's only there to advise, to caution, to look at the shit, to make some speeches, to do some ceremonies. To me, that is what some people would call a figurehead, but I say dumb it down. She's a mascot. She's Texas Pete. Like, it doesn't make any difference. But I'll tell you what, I start my day listening to the Daily, and the first thing I hear, on the day after, it happens, they do some coverage on it, and I gotta tell you, I've been hip deep in Queen Elizabeth II coverage, but they started off with an interview, and it's a person doing it on the street with a person, a citizen, and I gotta tell you, and I'm just being all the way real on this fucking podcast. It is a person of color, and I'm thinking, okay, so this will be interesting what they have to say. And he goes, and I'm obviously paraphrasing here. He's like, oh, like, what are you saying? Are you pulling a prank? Like, what do you mean? Like you're serious? Like, you're serious? The Queen's dead? And he was like, oh no, like, he was actually upset. He was visibly upset, visibly, like, I could tell listening to this podcast, this man was shook as hell. And I was like, I was surprised. I was surprised because when you think about what the Queen represents, at least this is from my perspective, a random American just sitting in a shitty ass little apartment doing a podcast, I just don't get it. This is a person who is the tippity top of what colonization looks like. It is the benefit, it is the representation of it to me. Like, I don't understand why you'd feel any kind of fucking sad way about this, negative way about it. Like, it is one less motherfucker to worry about. And honestly, it doesn't change anything. Nothing is changing. This person didn't know you. You didn't know this person. But then I hear more and more little like conversation, testimonials, whatever, interviews, and even up to politicians across the way. And also too, like I said, the whole head of the Commonwealth thing, that's something I kind of learned about a little bit this week. Like, the whole idea of like, well, hey, we colonized you guys, but we clearly see after World War II things are changing, and maybe we shouldn't be doing this, and maybe we got to change the name, switch the brand. So they say, instead of like calling these people like outright territories, provinces that we own, we say, hey, you're a Commonwealth. You're a part of us, like everyone is. You're just like Scott, you're just like, Ireland or whatever the fuck. And it's loose to me. Now, granted, the Commonwealth isn't just lands that were subjugated by, England. It also is some others too that have come into it. But when you think about it and you see it, you understand why you would still stay, even though a lot of these Commonwealth areas were like, hey, we do want to be independent. And hey, maybe, like, yes, you're our head of the state, but maybe we don't even want you as that because we can do it on our own. And you want to stay, though, because there's a benefit to this. It's just like being a part of, like, the United Nations or anything of that nature. Like, you need to have a kind of support aligned to a power that you can work with and that will work with you. And for them, they're like, yeah, we get to exploit you, so we love that. Because essentially all this was a rebranding. Nothing has changed. And what I've seen from these little and this is another thing that tripped me out, was listening to the BBC. I love the BBC. Um, from what I've kind of listened to in terms of Western media, it's pretty straight shooting, at least to a point. Like you can see some slants and angles, but like it's not so bad. They at least give you a lot of news in a lot of different areas. They mean it when they say world, and I like that. But man, they really have rose-colored glasses when they talk about the whole monarchy situation, queen thing. Um, and it's weird that not too many people are talking about how unnecessary it is. Like they class it up. They put this like air of finesse, like Queen Elizabeth's doing a lot of stuff, and I'm like, she's just doing speeches. She's just doing speeches and traveling. She's collecting rose petals from little African children. I don't get it. I don't see the appeal. I don't see the need for tears. And then of course we got the new King Charles III. Formerly Prince Charles or Prince Charles. I don't know how you say it. Charles Prince of Wales. I still don't know the whole Prince of Wales thing. If you can let me know, because I don't get why they're from Wales specifically all the time. Because I remember it was like Princess Diana, Princess of Wales. I don't know, and that always confused me. I don't know. I guess it's like the title. That's just you gotta say the whole thing, like a pimp named Slipback. But he's king now, so that's a thing. Also, I know I'm about to be ableist, so trigger warning there. But like, why are his fingers so chubby? Like, I really want to know. I guess maybe something I need to be aware of. This is a 73-year-old man, so like, he's lived a long life. He's been waiting in the wings for this moment, and now he's finally king. And honestly, fuck him. I already have like seen clips of this motherfucker. He already rude. He already an asshole. He's been an asshole. Like you can see this man flapping on his own little fucking podium that he's been bullshitting on, and now that he's fucking king of whatever, he's already like, well, I'm gonna do what a king should do now. Like, okay, man, fuck climate, right? Who cares? I don't know. I have a lot to say. I could go all day about it. Maybe I don't even know, but yeah, Queen Elizabeth II, 1926 to 2022, hell of a run, I say. I will say, I guess some flowers. We'll give some flowers to Queen Elizabeth II. She apparently during wartime, like she did some like work in the actual like army division, like kind of more or less for show, but like hell, she could definitely work on a car better than I could. She was a well preserved person. I didn't know until this week that she was in a Bond movie. I didn't watch it, but apparently I think she was in a Bond movie, so that's pretty crazy. Let's see. I think she had a certain kind of charisma. Like I said, when it came to the speaking, hey, that's hella fucking cool that you can do that. Totally helps keep people on a fucking lasso so that you can fucking milk them. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, there are plenty of places that you can go to hear something really sweet about Queen Elizabeth II. But it's one of those things where I find it so strange that we'll talk about like, oh man, it's so bad what Saudi Arabia did, and what MBS did, Bahani bin Salman. Yes, like what? Oh man, he did such bad stuff. He killed a journalist. When literally like a person like Queen Elizabeth technically was like, yeah, it's okay, it's whatever. Who cares about slave people and all this kind of shit? Like never really claims it, never really talks about it. And I'm not even covering the whole social shit. I'm not even covering like what the fucking kids did. Like, like Prince Charles. Actually, I have covered what the son did. So we have talked about this a little bit on the pod. Like, it's just one of those things and it's like, well, you can't blame her for that. You shouldn't go. Look, all I'm saying is none of these people are clean. And I don't understand why we cry for this person but throw stones at the other. I always think that's kind of fucking weird. Obviously, if you feel a way about it, you feel sad. Hey, I get it. And also, I understand that death sucks. Death fucking sucks. And apparently, for some people, this person felt like a grandma to them. So, I can see that being like a oof. But I would just challenge people to maybe not think and feel that way, because you don't have to. Like, that's a choice. I would really love in my utopian thought experiment that people would take this opportunity to say, hey, maybe we don't need to pay these people billions of dollars a year to just sit on their dust and not fucking do anything, or even go on trips to do fucking nothing. Maybe we could like invest in ourselves. But maybe not. I don't know. But that's about all we got for the episode. If you've made it this far, once again, thank you for sticking along. Thank you for hanging out with me, having a good time, having a jolly old good time, having some bangers and mash, fish and chips, eh? That's all I got. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. Let's see. Shill mode, patreon.com/Isaiah News. If you could donate, that would be great. $5 gets you a little package bundle. You get Discord access if you'd like. You can talk on my little Discord I'm trying to form. Make a little squad, a little posse. Also, you get a shout out if you'd like to use it. You can, I'll say your name on the podcast at least once a month. And also, I will talk about a news thing if you'd like. Or whatever you want me to plug, I'll do that. That comes with that package. The power of money. Other than that, I got IsaiahNews1@gmail.com if you want to like ask questions or whatever. And you can find me. I'm painfully online, so it's not hard to find me or this podcast, and tag it, add it, DM me, whatever. Get as parasocial as you'd like with me. I think maybe I shouldn't talk shit, because I don't have the kind of clout as Queen Elizabeth did. They don't have an era named after me, so but I'm doing what I can. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.